Hey friends, Annie F. Downs here with my friend and coworker, Ashley. And we are going to answer some of your questions you've submitted about practicing Sabbath. Now, Ashley's here with me. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for doing this.
I'm delighted.
Because Ashley collected up all the questions for you. We did a gospel Q&A about reading the Gospels a couple of weeks ago. You can go back and watch that one as well, where I just kind of asked myself the questions, and I thought, it's just better if you do this for me and with us.
I'm very curious.
It's more fun. It's more fun. The thing I want to say up front about practicing Sabbath, there's two things. Number one, it is a practice. It is something you are learning to do, something you will get better at. We will spend our lives practicing all sorts of things, especially in spiritual disciplines, prayer, fasting, reading your Bible, even community is a practice. Relationships are a practice. There is not a finish line. And the same is true with Sabbath. There's not a finish line where you're going to get it perfectly and then you're just going to repeat every time. Your situation is going to change. Your life place is going to change. Your weeks are going to change. And so just remember, it is a practice. And number two, and Ashley and I are just like two of a lot of people who practice Sabbath. If you were going to a trainer and working out, they're going to help you do exercises, and they're going to tell you a way to do exercises that's right for your body. If you go to a different trainer, they may have a little bit of a different exercise, but the core of what they're both doing is the same. And so the reason that matters is I just want you to know I'm just one person who's practicing. I'm not an expert. I've done a lot of reading. I've been practicing Sabbath since 2015. So it's been right at 5 years right now. And so I've been practicing for a while, but I am just a person who practices. So I'll tell you my thoughts and some of the thoughts I've gleaned from the experts, but there are a lot of people telling us a lot about how to practice Sabbath well right now and why it matters. And so we'll point you to some of those people as well. Ashley, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, we're going to have a great time. I'm ready.
Okay, so
Popcorn.
Starting out, let's just begin with my question. Why Sabbath? Why does it matter? Why do we do it?
Right.
Just give us a flyby of why.
Yeah, I think from the beginning, God intended for us to rest. Mm-hmm. That's just been built into it. Even before there was sin, before there was humans, there was rest. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he created, I can't remember if humans were in those first 7 days.
I feel like
people were in that.
Yeah.
So not before humans, but at the very
really
beginning.
Close.
Really, yeah, like days. Work for 6, rest for 1. And I didn't used to really practice at it and grow up practicing it. I knew what it was and I had heard it, but it wasn't a part of my life. And then I went to Israel in 2015 and we actually observed like a literal 24 hours, what happens in Jerusalem. And I came home and I read Garden City by John Mark Comer. And in reading that book, I went like, oh, I can see why this is a practice for today and why rest matters now. Intentional rest, not just I need a day off, not just I need to do my chores, not just I need to sleep in, but like an intentional set apart day.
Yep, absolutely. So what are some of the tangible differences you've seen since you began observing Sabbath?
Oh my gosh, you know what's so funny, Ash? I don't know if you and I have ever talked about this. People ask me all the time, how did your business build so fast? How did you go from working in your house to having an office? And
say this?
Because of Sabbath and because of tithing. I am so sure that God has allowed the growth he's allowed. So professionally, anybody can look at 2015 of my company and look at 2020 of my company. And a lot of the blessing and a lot of the growth is because I give a part of my money and a part of my time back to God because it's all his anyway. And so I see tangible growth there. I mean, we see growth there, and I attribute it to God honoring some of the sacrifices that we've made. But also literally, I just wish we might even do this, pull a picture of me from 2015 and 2020. I am healthier. My skin is better. I rest better. I am more sure of me. And I attribute a lot of that to setting aside and learning how to do this one spiritual practice that has allowed a lot of growth in me. And so I see it in my physical body, I see it in my professional body, and spiritually, I have grown. Now, I don't do it right every week, I don't even want to use those words here, right and wrong, but I don't do it perfectly every week. But I am learning to love it, to need it, to feel like a friend of mine says, we actually do our week from a place of Sabbath, not to Sabbath. And so for me, it's Saturday right now. my Saturday leads into the week. It's not recovering from the week. It's like, oh man, that was a good week. I get to rest tomorrow to start the next week.
Right.
And
I love that.
Really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We've got some to do or not to do.
Yeah, you
questions.
split them in categories,
I
right?
did.
Just like last time.
So
Okay.
you guys sent in great questions.
Yes,
I
thank
love
you.
your hearts and your curiosity and your earnestness to learn. So
Me too.
kudos. So just some kind of yes or no.
Okay.
Do we do this? Do we not do this? Okay. Do you exercise on Sabbath?
Yes, I do move my body. I don't do like training. I don't do weightlifting. I don't do any of that stuff on a Sabbath. I do walking or running or moving. I want to be outside. I want to move. I maybe would do, if it's winter time, I would maybe do yoga or maybe do something that is reflective and thoughtful. I try not to do something that is achieving a goal.
Sure.
I try to move and enjoy nature and rest, but use my body, but not try to achieve a goal.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you check your email on
No.
Sabbath? No. Hard no. Do you fast on your Sabbath?
No. In fact, I really enjoy, so for me, my Sabbath is usually Saturdays when I'm not traveling. When I am traveling, we move my Sabbath to Wednesdays. So I'm gone Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, and Wednesday will be my day that I rest. But right now, during the pandemic of 2020, there is no traveling. So I am resting on Saturdays. And so my day usually starts, I like to cook something during the day, but I like it to be like either a really fun breakfast for myself or something that takes during the day that I do a lot of chopping and like using my hands.
Yep.
And so I do eat on Sabbath. I do not fast unless I'm in a season of fasting where I'm doing a week or I'm doing an extended fast, in which case I would. But no, normally I'm eating with pleasure.
Do you have any like rituals that you practice to begin or end your Sabbath?
Oh man, this is what I'm not good at practicing yet. A lot of my friends who observe Sabbath and practice, they have very good Friday night or the night, because it's technically, if you want to get technical scripturally and how the Jewish tradition is, it is sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday.
Right.
So it's the last part of Friday to the first 2/3 of Saturday. It actually isn't Saturday night. So like in Jerusalem, all the restaurants, all the bars, all the shops close at sundown on Friday.
Yep.
And then Saturday night when the sun goes down, it is like people haven't seen each other for months. I mean, they are just out and loud and having a great time.
Enjoying each other.
Yes, yes. And so a lot of people have meals on Friday nights with their families. My friend Matthew Hernandez, which is one of the ones we'll talk about when we talk about family, they do a really beautiful thing with their kids. Now, their kids are elementary and younger, so everybody's home on Friday nights.
Right.
It's different if they're at football games Friday nights or whatever. But for me, I don't have a great Friday night rhythm yet, or a start of Sabbath rhythm yet. I usually during that day and that evening or the night before, I will clean up. I'll do any dishes I'm going to do. I'll move any laundry I'm going to move. I will get my house to Sabbath
prepped
before the end of that work day.
Okay.
And so that by the end of that work day, I am free to start resting.
Gotcha. Okay. One of our friends asked, what is Sabbath and what's work? How do I distinguish the two?
Right. So the way I've heard Sabbath defined is rest and worship. You can do anything that is rest and worship to you. So no work. And to me, that's no social media. That is we need, I think JP, Jonathan Pekluda says, a day away. He says, pull away weekly.
It's a whole thing.
We'll put it right here.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's right here.
It's like something you do every week, something you do like once a quarter, and then you like peace out once a year or something like that.
That's right. So there is a need, and the TechWise Family by Andy Crouch says like an hour a day, a week a year that you need to be away from your phones. If you've watched Social Dilemma on Netflix, there's a real reason for us to break ourselves from our phones. So I'd say no phones. And so how do you determine what's rest and what is worship, what's rest and worship versus what's work? Mm-hmm. To me, it's part of the practice as you learn. Because there are times, if I'm cooking because I need to feed another family, that's work. I need to figure out a different way to do that. If I'm cooking because I'm in a rhythm and I'm listening to a podcast that is making me laugh, and then that is different.
Sure.
And so for me, I know what my work is. And I know what chores are. And work and chores are not what Sabbath is for. It is for rest and worship. So for me, resting is walking, reading. Like I put together a table for my porch just because I wanted to use my hands. That may have been, there are weeks that would have fallen in a different category.
Yep.
So it is a learned part of it, figuring out rest versus worship.
So hearing you say that
work.
jumps me a little bit ahead to one of the other questions. One of our friends said she enjoys doing laundry, so that doesn't necessarily feel like work to her. But what would you say to that?
Yeah, so I have two thoughts on that.
Go.
Right. Part of it is like, okay. But the other part of me has, like, I wish she and I could sit down. I wish she was here. And I could say, like, what do you love about doing laundry? Do you love that it gets you ahead for the week? Do you love folding? Do you love not being on the floor? Well, do that any other day of the week. You've got, technically, most of us, not everyone, most people work 5 days a week. Most people work Monday through Friday.
Right.
And I know there's nurses who are different, and I know. But a lot of us are Monday through Friday. And in which case you have Saturday and Sunday. So for me, one is chores, to-do list, cleaning up, and one is rest. Mm-hmm. And so don't do your laundry on your Sabbath day. In Jewish tradition, they don't use any machines. Like, they're not using...
Heaven help us.
Can you imagine?
We would be in trouble.
Yes. I mean, they don't even use, like, cooking. They cook everything before sundown on Friday.
Amazing.
And so they don't push elevator buttons. It's wild, y'all. They
I did not know
elevator, there's a Sabbath elevator so that it stops on every floor. It opens and stops on every floor. And so you don't push any buttons. You do not work. I don't go to that.
Sure.
But I don't do laundry. If you need to fold towels if you like how it feels warm, heat them up in the dryer and put them on you and be done with it.
Okay. So what about things that we've kind of already covered this, but just to honor, we had a couple of questions come in that, like, what do you just refuse to do? Like, what is absolutely not a part of Sabbath?
I do not have meetings for work. I do not check email. I do not get on social media. I pretty much don't use my phone unless I'm responding to someone calling or texting me. Other than that, I try to be off my phone. I'm particularly staunch about my pre-lunch. Like, there are not meeting.
You're really protective of that time.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I need the alone time. Yeah. I need the quiet. I want to sleep a little bit later. After lunch is when I can, like, go on a walk with a friend or go see your kids or go see, like, kind of fill up my cup that way. Because to me, that is part of the joy of Sabbath is I have time to play with people's kids.
Right. There are times that to worship is to tickle somebody and hear them laugh until they almost cry.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't do laundry. I don't do dishes. If I make a mess in the morning, I just put them in the sink, but it's the only day of the week I let myself do that. I don't set an alarm to wake up. I don't shop. I don't spend money unless it's food or drink. Mm-hmm. John Mark Comer goes deeper into that in some of his teaching, but there is a real thing about how if we are requiring goods and buying goods 7 days a week, someone's working 7 days a week.
We're causing someone else to have to work.
And I'm a very small part of the system, but I'm doing my small part to be fair, I'm doing my small part to not contribute to slavery by not shopping 7 days a week. Yep. So I don't shop 7 days a week.
I love that. Okay, we're moving into a next theme.
Ready. You're doing great, by the way.
Well, thanks. Lots of questions about how do you find the time? How do you fit this in? How do you get everything done so that it's the day can be restful when we're dealing with kids' schedules and all the chores for all the people and sometimes work seasons are 10-hour days, 7 days a week, or I work full time and so what do you say to how do I find the time to take a day specifically to rest and worship?
Well, first I would encourage you that if you want time to rest, ask God to start changing your calendar. I mean, just ask the Holy Spirit to get involved, because if it is something that you want and it's a practice that you feel like will help your spiritual life, invite God to start helping you make adjustments, and then pay attention when he does. When something gets canceled, or when a thing that has been, when your book club stops meeting, or if something falls off your calendar and you've been asking God to give you space and time, trust that something's falling off your calendar. I would also say you don't have to start with 24 hours. Start with the morning, or start with 2 hours in the evenings. If there's a night that the kids are all out doing something and you're home, instead of watching 2 hours of Netflix, which is what I would love to do too.
Or spending 2 hours scrolling.
Yes.
Guilty.
Or spending 2 hours scrolling, go, okay, here's my Sabbath evening. And I'm not going to be on socials and I'm not going to work on my chores. I'm going to sit and read a book that I've really wanted to read. And I'm not going to feel guilty. And I'm not going to feel like there's other things I could be doing, because your rest is as important as your to-do list. I know that does not feel true, but I'm telling you it is true that your rest is as important as your to-do list.
But even hearing you say that, like, my eyes will well up, because I don't necessarily allow myself that.
Yes.
But I believe it.
Yes. Yes.
But if you believe it, you behave like you believe it.
That's right.
So
that's right. Your actions. What is it that people say about your bank account tells more of the truth than you do of what matters to you? And so, yes, I know. And so I would say that's part of it, is making time, is giving yourself. Don't start with 24-hour days if you can't. My life today is, I'm not married yet. I don't have kids yet. And I don't have a roommate. So I have the space to do that on a Saturday. Some other people may not. We'll talk about this in a minute when we get to family stuff, but there are people who are modeling this really well with kids and with spouses and with jobs. And I have a very full-time job. I have a very lot of work.
Yes, you do, my friend.
And I love my friends and I like to see my friends. My life is better and I am healthier that I've set aside a half day, usually by myself, and then the second half of the day is celebrating and practicing with others if I can.
A couple people asked about, like, the day of the week. Does the day of the week matter? The Bible, does it say in the Bible that it should be on Sunday, the sixth day, the seventh day?
Right. Well, I guess that would depend on when you start your week. Because if your first day of the week is on Thursday, Wednesday is your Sabbath, right? So, I mean, traditionally, right? The Jewish tradition is Friday night to Saturday night. The Christian tradition, the American way, is Sundays, because we go to church in the morning, and that can totally be part of your Sabbath if sleeping in isn't a big deal. Or like our church, we have later services. You can go at 11, you can go at 5:30. You don't have to go at 7. You don't have to do sunrise except on Easter.
Sunrise service.
Right? And so I remember we used to think that 8:30 was so early. If Sunday is when you practice, that's fine.
Yep.
That's totally fine. Just make sure, again, Sabbath isn't a thing that just happens one day a week. You're thinking about it. You're prepping for it. You're getting ready for it. You're celebrating. You're thinking about it. You're prepping for it. You're getting ready for it. You're celebrating.
And benefiting from it.
Benefiting. Right. Everyone benefits from me resting. I've been a non-rested Annie, and she's not easy to be friends with. Rested Annie has all the same stressors. You know what I always say? I think I may have said this to you before. I used to drive a Toyota Camry. Mm-hmm. It was great. And I got very good at parallel parking. I mean, I'm very good at parallel parking. And then I got a new RAV, my RAV4, and it has a backup camera. And I can park great. I can parallel park with such ease.
Even better than?
Yeah, probably better. It's faster.
Okay.
What I know is that is how Sabbath feels to me. I could already do my life. I could already do my life all right. I do my life better and more efficiently and in a smoother way with Sabbath as my backup camera.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so making time, whether it's 2 hours or an afternoon or a morning or a day. And the other thing is you fall in love with it. Mm-hmm. And you go like, man, I want my husband and my kids to be a part of this with me. I want my friends to do this part of the time with me. I did 2 hours last week. This week I'm going to try to do 3. And then next week I'm going to try to do 4. And then the next week I only have 1. And at the end of 1, I'll be sad I don't have 2.
Yeah. Okay, so you brought up church. So one of our friends asked, what do you do if church isn't restful for you? If it's so busy and like frenzied, getting there and getting that church doesn't fit in that rest category.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be the same, is that I'd first ask the Lord to step in. I'd ask the Lord to reassign some things for me and to help sort it out. Also, when you have tiny people, life is just chaotic. I've watched it enough. It's just busy, and it is hard for anything to feel super restful. But if you're busy at church because you have to start the coffee, if you're the person who starts the coffee at 7:30 and you're the greeter who has to say bye to everybody after the 12:30, you need to adjust your volunteering. You're probably giving more than you have to give and more than you need to give. And you can still volunteer and still be an active part of your church and also care for your own soul, so that in 10 years you're still doing it instead of 3 years of intensive volunteering and then you're burnt out with all of it.
Burning out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super wise. What about for our friends who are single or who live alone, and they're on their own? We had several questions come in about should Sabbath be spent alone? Can I still be social? Do you spend time with people on your Sabbath, which you've already mentioned a couple of times? How do you deal with feeling lonely if you do on your Sabbath?
One of the things that I have learned recently, probably in the last year, the pandemic helped, is that feeling lonely is not bad.
Yeah.
It is not always, I do not always need a pacifier when I feel lonely. And I feel like I do. Yeah. I feel like I want to open my phone so I don't feel lonely. I want to call somebody so I don't feel lonely. I have found that if I will sit in I grieve every Sabbath over something because I've been going all week and we're having a great time and Craig's here and we're doing business. And then Saturday gets here and I'm like, oh yeah, that one thing in my personal life was really disappointing. And I haven't thought about that at all. So I'm going to probably cry. I mean, I probably cry every Sabbath because I haven't grieved very well during the week. And so I don't feel lonely during my week, but I always feel lonely on my Sabbath. And okay, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean I have to pacify it. It just means I have something to offer back to God and to go, I'm staying here with you, but I'm super lonely.
Well, and just because I think sometimes our definition of worship could bear some expanding.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any less worship to invite God into your grief than it is to sing a great song.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, like
that's right.
Because it's still saying to him, hey, you're bigger than this, and I trust you.
Yeah.
And we can say that in a song, and we can say that on a walk, but we can also say that in
laying on the floor.
This hurts.
That's right.
I need you.
That's right. So. Yeah, that's perfect. That's a great answer.
Okay, so flipping from on our own to with other people.
Yes.
We have so many questions.
So many moms and dads.
So many, I want to do this, but my spouse isn't necessarily on board.
Yeah.
I'm a teenager and my parents aren't into this rhythm with me.
Yes.
What do we do when the other people, our roommates, what do we do when the other people in our life aren't on board with this rhythm? Well,
I would say nobody else has to know what you're doing with your phone necessarily. So if whether you're a teenager, whether you're a spouse whose spouse doesn't want to practice Sabbath currently for a reason or another, or whether you have a bazillion roommates, you can turn off all your apps for a whole day. And you can sit and read a book with everybody else. You can, even if everybody's watching. So Saturdays are my day, but Georgia football comes back this week. I'll probably watch the Georgia game because that is a gathering thing.
It's a life-giving.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not watching TV to waste time. I'm watching a sporting event. So that, okay, that's fine. I won't do it every week. There'll be weeks where I go, no, I need to pull away. In a couple weeks, I'm going out of town for the weekend. I won't not talk to my friends on that Saturday that I'm with them, but I will change my phone behavior.
Sure.
And so that's a baseline for me is changing phone behavior would work for any of them. I also think it is, so it's Saturday. Your husband doesn't practice Sabbath and he wants you to go to these 12 places with him. Okay, you can go. Don't be on your phone when y'all are walking through the stores and you're not interested. What are you thinking about? What could you take a book? Could you, what are some things you could do in the house that's been built around you? For teenagers, you may need to do these 4 things and you may have to go to your job that night. Could you use the first 2 hours you're up and just say, hey, I'm going to eat breakfast in my room and just read my Bible for a little bit, and then you just rest and read and listen to music and listen to a podcast that brings you joy and that kind of thing.
Okay, so you have quoted an idea that several people asked about, if you work with your hands, Sabbath with your mind. If you work with your mind, Sabbath with your hands.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, what are some other ideas for working with my hands or Sabbathing with my hands or Sabbathing with my mind? Or what if I work with both?
Yep.
Will you just speak to that a little bit?
Yep. I took that quote. Matt Chandler said that to me, and he's quoting Abraham Herschel from a book called The Sabbath. And so it is, if you work with your mind, you Sabbath with your hands. If you work with your hands, you Sabbath with your mind. So if you are a builder, if you are a person who makes pottery, if you are running around with kids all day, Sabbath rest would feel great to sit and read, to listen, to play solitaire with real cards, to to kind of like, I like to listen to audiobooks and do puzzles. So if you work with your mind and your hands, do something like an audiobook with puzzles, because you're doing something with your hands, which matters to me because I do both.
Yep.
I mostly work with my mind, but I do things. So I like to listen to I love listening to Andrew Peterson read his kids' books, his young adult fiction, and work on a puzzle. Everybody can say I do both, probably, more than someone going like, yes, I only write code every day. If you only write code every day, then you need to go outside. You need to get off your compuper. Everybody needs to get off their computer or their technology. Have you gotten the theme there?
We haven't even gotten to the technology questions.
Yeah, nailed it. But it is very like, could you go fishing? Can you go on a walk? Can you paint? Can you draw? Can you build something? Can you cook
Even
something?
cooking,
Yes. I mean, as our friend Chef Corey Barrett says, cooking is medicine. There is something that happens. So can you cook something? Can you make some bread? Can you, I wouldn't clean. I wouldn't organize. I wouldn't do laundry. I wouldn't do anything that is chores, but do things that involve your plant things, garden. In the winter, could you pick up a new hobby like knitting or whittling or an instrument that you want to play? Like, what could your hands do? And when it comes to your mind, I think reading, I think you could do writing, but I would say off technology, I would handwrite. Puzzles,
Listening to
games,
music and
play games with your friends. Do anything like that that is enjoyable, that is restful, that involves your hands.
Yeah, awesome. Okay,
That's changed my life having that.
I bet.
I think about it
it's
every
such a
weekend.
great filter.
Yeah.
Just to kind of.
Is there one thing I can do? Because I'm both. I usually do both, right? So I'm going to spend a lot of time reading, journaling, catching up from the week as I'm reading my Gospels every month. But I'm also, now I've really been intentional to try to do something with my hands.
Gotcha. Okay, so to the discipline question, it's not just how do you find the time,
right?
It's how do you find the discipline to stay consistent, to just be in the habit.
Well, when you see results from what you're doing, you don't want to quit anything. That's true with our spiritual, that's true with our emotional, it's true with our physical bodies. If you keep doing the same exercise and your body's changing, you're going to keep doing the same exercise. And so part of it is do it until you see results. Keep practicing until you see something change where you go, good. Man, I'm actually way more peaceful than I used to be. And I wonder why. Or people say my eyes look more rested than they used to look, or whatever. If you're a Christian, there are a lot of things you choose every day that are a discipline, whether you call them that or not. You are choosing who you spend time with. You are choosing what you put your hand to. You're choosing not to do a crime every day. Like you're choosing not to be a criminal every day, because your ethos of your life, the filter through which you send everything is, what does it look like to be godly here? How do I grow in my faith? To me, and I have accountability. Everybody here knows that we don't talk on the weekend. I mean, we do if we need.
Well,
we're
for
friends.
Friend stuff. Yeah, but
we don't
not
do
for
work
work
on
stuff.
the weekend. And the entire internet knows.
Right.
And so there is a lot of accountability for me.
You people call her out when she.
When it used to be Wednesdays and I wouldn't make a very public, like, I'm not on the road this weekend. On Wednesday, I'd Insta story and people would be like, and I was like, y'all are right. Y'all are good friends.
Yes.
And so invite some people in, even if it's your counselor, your pastor, your parents, one friend, and go, hey, from Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon, I'm going to try to practice Sabbath. Will you ask me on Sunday if I did it?
Yeah.
Or will you check in Friday night to see if I'm ready?
And not in a check the box kind of way, but in a, if you believe this is good for you.
Yes. And when you don't believe, check the box.
Okay.
Right? When you aren't sure it's good for you, do it. When you aren't sure healthy eating you have to eat healthy for a long time before your body changes.
Yes, you're right.
And so check the box, believing that someday it won't be a box.
Okay, because that leads to the next kind of theme is just the idea of like, how do you keep it from being legalistic? How do you keep this from being a checkbox, a follow the rules, for our friends who are Enneagram 1s or relate to that type.
Like it has to be, tell me what rest of worship is. Give me the checklist.
It should be this, or I should be doing something else. Like how do you what do you do with those voices?
Yeah, I think that's where the practice helps. I think the repeated doing it helps. I think having some failures helps. Our friend Jeff Bethke one time said to me on a podcast, he was like, if a Christmas doesn't go well, you don't cancel the next Christmas.
Touché.
And so as you practice, it helps when you stumble and fall. Yeah. It helps when you have, I told you a couple weeks ago, I was like, I want to watch TV. And then I was like, man, I missed out on like my one day that I don't connect with social media or whatever. And I felt the loss.
Yeah.
And so when I felt the loss, I realized it's not legalism. I just don't want to miss out on this.
Yeah.
I need it. How do you not make breakfast, lunch, and dinner legalistic? Well, you're hungry. And so it's not legalistic. You're
That's
hungry.
so good, Annie.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's true for all of our
Yeah.
spiritual disciplines is legalism comes in when you're not hungry and you're eating. So ask the Lord to make you hungry.
What about for our college friends
Yeah.
whose life is a little unpredictable, or it's not always up to them, or that full class schedule? How do you recommend or advise our college student friends?
I think it's a part day over a whole day would be my guess.
Yeah.
Especially socially, unless you're in a faith community at your university that is, hey, let's practice Sabbath
together,
for the semester. Let's practice on Sunday evenings. We won't have small groups, and from church for the rest of the day, we want you to rest. And then everybody's practicing together. That is why it works in Jerusalem, because no matter what you believe, you can't go to a store.
You just can't.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're going to practice. So if your community's doing it, it's different. If it's just you, I would say find some hours, find some time, set aside, even if it starts with 2-hour blocks. 2 hours, set it aside, see what happens. And as you grow in the practice and you grow in your life, it will become a bigger priority for you.
Okay. For all of our friends who have all of your mini BFFs.
Oh, man. Right.
I mean, life with...
You have two of them.
I do have two of them, and they are awesome, but they can fill up a day.
Yes.
So, so many friends with... What do I do? I have a busy 16-month-old or my 4-year-old. How do I introduce this idea to my kids? My kids are in sports.
Yeah.
It's how.
Yeah. So I don't know that is the truth. Is that's not my life and not what I know personally. So let me direct you to some people who do know. Jefferson and Alyssa Bethke. They have 3 littles, and they practice Sabbath. So you can read. He has a book about To Hell with the Hustle, it's called. He has a book about rest. John Mark Comer, of course, does an incredible job modeling Sabbath and teaching about it from a place of dad of 3.
Right.
My friend Shireen Eldridge is a mom of 4, and they are very intentional about practice. I mean, they have Friday night chores that the kids do after school Friday to get ready for Sabbath.
Yeah.
It's just part of their language. My friend Matthew Hernandez, he and his wife Brittany and their kids practice as well. So there are some people that you can go follow on Instagram, that you can read their books. The Bethkes have a YouTube channel. There's just a lot of people out there you can watch if you are a parent. And Shireen, Matthew, Jeff, and John Mark are very open communicators. So you can DM them. You can check with them about and look through their Q&As that they've already done and see what you can learn. So
awesome. Okay, so to technology, and we'll kind of wrap up after this.
Okay.
We've had a couple of friends say, as I'm single and I want to disconnect, but there's a safety issue with not having my phone around, or I want to write, but I want to limit screen time. How to, just kind of talk to us about your relationship with technology.
Yep. When it comes to writing, when it comes to creating something like that, if you don't want to do it by hand, I wouldn't do it on the Sabbath.
Okay.
I would, if you want to take notes by hand or start writing by hand, I would rather pull aside one Wednesday night a month and go to a coffee shop and let her rip. And that's what I would do if I was writing that to be shared or not to be shared.
Right.
But journaling, yes. We can talk about journaling next time. But journaling, yes. Safety-wise, if I am in my house as a single woman right now, if I am in my house, I do not have my phone on me. I will have it on, and it is on silence.
Yeah.
Or especially in the morning, especially before the world is awake. I mean, right now, my phone is not on from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's on Do Not Disturb. And so I already have that 10-hour window. It would probably be 9 p.m. to 11 a.m. on a Saturday.
Okay.
And so that's part of it is you can just set your phone aside. Also, there's a cabin I go to sometimes on my Sabbath, and where there's no service.
Yeah.
And when I'm going, I will call my parents and say, "Hey, I'm going here, and I will be here from 9 to 2. If you need me, you can't get me from 9 to 2 unless you call this number and they come and get me."
Right.
Right. And so there are once every 3 months, my phone is off or out of service. Most of the time, if I'm at the cabin, I'm with other people.
Sure.
And so I'm not in danger.
Yeah.
But I would say I don't turn my phone off. I just leave my phone on. Treat it like a home phone. Treat it like a landline. Landlines, you don't just pick up. Is anybody there? You know, like you aren't just picking up a landline phone. Leave the phone just like it's a landline. And if it rings, you can answer it.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a landline on your Sabbath.
I like that. That's very good. Any other, well, you've mentioned a couple of resources. Are there any other like music recommendations or the best books? You've already really told us the
Garden
people
City by John Mark Comer is the one that got me started. Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, I love. And 24/6 by Dr. Matthew Sleeth. Those are kind of, there's a lot. Some of y'all gave us some really great book recommendations. There's a lot, but I would start. John Mark writes very easy to read. He's very understandable, and it's all really helpful and like great. I'm just a super fan. So yes, I'm going to say Garden City, Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, 24/6. Music-wise, I just put on whatever playlist I want on Spotify, whatever worship I want to listen to. Sometimes I listen to Hamilton. I mean, like I just like music going in my house. And so I don't think there's necessarily a Sabbath playlist for me. I do try to keep it mostly faith-based just for the atmosphere, for my heart.
Just for what you're feeding yourself. Yeah. Awesome. Annie.
We did it?
We did it.
Good job. Oh, COVID.
Oh, right.
Sorry. We're healthy. Thank you for doing this.
I loved it.
I loved it too.
Thank you for doing this.
We are so grateful to get to be a part of the practices y'all want to have in your lives. Again, not an expert, just a practicer. But listen, below in the comments, if you have more questions, leave them there. Also, I have an Insta story highlight called Sabbath that I've kept going for, it's been a couple of years that I've updated randomly. So you can go and look through that as well. So thank you guys for joining us. Check out the Gospels Q A if you would like some more of these, and we'll make another one at some point.
Sure.
I don't know what else the Q's are, but we'll bring our answers.
Send us your cues.
Send us your cues. We'll come up with the answers. Y'all have a great day. Leave your questions below, and we'll do the best we can to answer them.